And we say happy birthday to the Super Nintendo, 25 years! This system's seen better days, but I've only had it for 24 years, and it works! That's one of the beautiful things about it. So in honor of the 25th anniversary of the Super Nintendo, I pulled out 25 games from my collection to just share a quick memory. These are my favorite, not necessarily my favorite top 25 for the Super Nintendo, but most of these are also my favorites, so it works out pretty well that way. Super Nintendo, I bought mine a year after it came out. I had a paper route at the time, and I made a deal with my dad. Now, my dad, who is very tight with money, he wasn't just going to buy me one, because I certainly begged and pleaded about that, and that wasn't happening. But I said, I'll tell you what, if I pay for half, will you pay for the other half? My dad agreed to that. So, bought the Super Nintendo, was good to go, and it's been a lot of fun. Still play it today. I was literally playing a couple games just the other day on it. So, these are 25 games for my collection. The only game I'm not going to show, fictional holding, is Pilot Wings, because that was the game I wanted to play the most when the system first came out. Because I saw the pictures in Nintendo Power, and I was like, how does it look the same, but the scaling, I didn't understand. Like, kind of like when you heard about the 3DS, and you're like, well, what kind of 3D is it? Is it really 3D? I mean, like, what's going on? So when I first heard about Mode 7, I was like, how are those two the same pictures? I don't understand it in my mind until I actually physically see it, and Pilot Wings blew me away. And Pilot Wings is still one of my favorite games for any game system. A lot of memories about that. I see the backs of a bunch of games over here, so I'm going to start pulling up random ones, and I'll talk briefly about them. First one goes to Zardion, out of all games. I think this is a great game. It's certainly an unsung hero. I'm a huge fan of Zardion. You play as, it's like a mech fighting, but it's like a side-scrolling, shooter, but it's not very fast-moving. And you can switch between like a panther-looking thing, like Panthar, I think it has the creative name, a couple other robots too. And it just kind of had I remember at the time it had a pretty cool storyline. I've been meaning to play through this again soon. But Zardion, when it comes to mind as one of those, like, oh yeah, I rented that game, and this was one of those games I rented a couple of times, never owned until I started getting into collecting. So happy to have had Zardion, and looking forward to playing it again. I'm looking forward to it. The Lion King, oh my goodness, one of my favorites. Way harder than it should be for any kid's game. It's not supposed to be this hard. The double jump, are you serious? In the Can't Wait to Be King level, where you have to like jump and then jump again and the right timing and all that. Great music. The movie's cool, of course, and the game is actually a lot longer than it should be, and certainly a lot harder than it should be for a kid's game too. I've beaten it once, and I tried to beat it again, even with the Game Genie, like maybe a year ago, and I couldn't do it, man. I had to give up, so love me some Lion King. Oh, cool. This one, too. Operation Logic Bomb. Again, another unsung hero. Not a whole lot of people talking about this. It plays kind of like the overhead view of Contra 3, in a way. You have to, like, like Zombies Ate My Neighbors, in a way. So you have to blow up the enemies, you have to blow up the thing, you get the map pieces, and you're just trying to, Operation Logic Bomb. Pretty cool game. Picked it up for $5 at the Portland Retro Gaming Expo a few years ago. It was another game I rented a few times, but happy to have added that back to the collection here. One of my favorite games of all time, Legend of the Mystical Ninja, part of the Goemon series. We didn't get a whole lot of the Goemon series in America. This was one of the first games I ever bought. I bought the Super Nintendo first. It came with Mario World, and then I didn't buy... I rented a lot of games when I was growing up. I rented a lot of games. But the first two games I ever bought, this was one of them. And I rented it before, so I was already familiar with it. I can't say enough good things about this game. It's just super fun. Love everything about it. The music's great. It's about the right length for a video game. It has a password system and all that. Legend of the Mystical Ninja. This game, another one that blew me away. This was one of the first games I remember, like, okay, graphics aren't as important as storyline, as gameplay, as the animation. Like, there's a whole, like, animated sequence at the beginning. I love this game. I ended up later on picking it up for other systems, too. But, playing this version for the Super Nintendo is always a fun game. Always a fun time. And I remember LFCK is one of the passwords. I don't remember where that password brings you. But LFCK, I just remember that password in my mind. Same with TXHF. So there's two passwords off the top of my head for a game that I probably haven't even popped in my system for probably 3 or 4 years. There you go. Gotta love Turtles in Time. The arcade quality, love the music, love the throwing the enemies into the TV screen. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, can't go wrong. I was literally wearing a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles shirt later this morning, too. So much fun with Mario Paint. Easily the most graphic, gory, pornographic game there is out there, because you can draw it yourself. And who didn't? I mean, when this game came out, I was in high school. I was like a freshman, I was a freshman in high school when this game came out. So of course, that's all we did. We just drew ladies with naked bits and and animations to match. So there you go, Mario Paint. Gotta love it. I didn't like the fact that it didn't have sharps or flats in the music, though. You gotta put everything in the key of C on that one. Super Mario All-Stars, quick story about this is, I was a junior in high school. Maybe I was a sophomore or junior in high school when this game came out. And I had a friend who had family in San Francisco. And he was like, you should come with me. And my family agreed. So they bought me a plane ticket to go with my friend to stay with his dad for a week in San Francisco. We had a great time. My parents gave me some cash to use as needed. They gave me cash to use, like, if you're out and about, maybe you want to grab a snack or something like that. They gave me, I forgot how much cash it was off the top of my head, but it was something like, it was probably like $100 cash or something like that to use for the week for myself if needed. I used that money to buy this game when it first came out, and still have it. So there's my memory about that, huh? We have, I don't even remember what number we're on here, Dragon View. Love this game. I wasn't a huge fan of Draken, but I loved the walking around 3D-wise. I thought that was cool. I mean, that was like the Skyrim for me at the time, was walking around a 3D universe. Crazy. The sun setting and all that. And this is that, but then it has the fighting element that I like in other games. So you combine both, kind of like an Exile, but has the very cool walking around the map portion. I've never beaten this game. I tried it once. I got stuck or something. I even looked up like a FAQ or a walkthrough to find out how I got stuck, and it's not telling me the right thing. So maybe I did something ahead of time where I shouldn't have, and now it's, I don't know. So gotta delete my quest and start all over again on that one. Can't say enough good things about Earthworm Jim. The comedy, the animation, the art style. I'm a big fan of Earthworm Jim and everyone who's on the team of this game. Tommy Talarco, love his music. Shiny Entertainment, remember they're kind of a thing for a while. Super fun game, and just the comedy, and it's just it's a fun like run and gun. It's just like very cartoony. Super Ghouls and Ghosts, another great game, of course. I love the Ghosts and Goblins series. This was one that had the music blew my mind, and there's like the snow level with all the snowing particles flying down and everything. Certainly mood setting, and one of my favorites. And it had the double jump, and any game with a double jump, that's good news for me. Legend of Zelda. What more do you need to say? Love the Zelda series. Soul Blazer, another one. I love this game so much, I even left a little plastic sleeve on. I only have a few plastic sleeves for some of my better games, for some of my more favorite games, and this is on one of them. I loved Actraiser, and we'll get to Actraiser here pretty soon, I'm sure. And this was not really the sequel to it, but also by Enix, same sound effects. Music was great. The storyline I thought was cool, because you're like, the more you play along, the more you battle things, the more the town rebuilds itself, and you find out little tidbits of storyline particles and pieces together, and you put it all together near the end. And this is another game I've been meaning to go through again sometime in the near future. But Soul Blazer. Soul Blazer is awesome. Star Blazers is awesome too, though. Don't get it twisted. Spanky's Quest is a kid's game, or it looks like a kid's game, and it probably is meant for kids. But I think it's one of my favorite puzzle games for any game system. It's just I like the fun element of just like the more you bounce the ball on top of your head, it turns into like a different weapon to clear out the enemies. You clear out the enemies, you get the key, you move on to the next level. But just a fun game, and I'll still pop this one in every once in a while. And I think I've beaten it once, like a long time ago. Thank you. Oh, I guess we're almost out of time. There's Actraiser. This one is my favorite Super Nintendo game of all time, and definitely in my top 5 favorite video games of all time. Actraiser, you play God, basically, and you build the towns, and then you even have to do the godly thing of destroy the towns to make them better. And then it goes into like a side-scrolling platform action-style game, too. So you got both elements all in one. And just the music is phenomenal. If you didn't know or haven't heard, there is an Actraiser Symphonic Suite that I have the CD of, but fortunately someone also posted it on YouTube. So you can look up this Actraiser Symphonic Suite and listen to the music for that game on YouTube. Super Mario World, still a great game. I mean, it's one of those games, it was the pack-in, it was absolutely free. You couldn't even give these away. But now that Super Nintendos are loose, like in the art sales and stuff like that, people want to buy this game. So now this game is up there, $20, $30, whatever it's going for now. And it's just, and it's totally worth it. It's Super Mario World, and I've completed it. You do the whole 96 whatever. I rented a Super Nintendo when it first came out. And then I didn't buy one until a year later. Of course, when I rented it, it came with Super Mario World. And then, so when I bought one, I just had fun with that game and didn't bother beating it. I was just like, I'll just play whatever. And then I remember the same day, like 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning, I was like, yeah, you know what, I'll go ahead and beat it now. And I beat it and moved on to the next game. Best of the Best, Championship Karate. I loved this game, my friend and I did, because it was one of the first games you could modify. It was one of the first games you had you couldn't really create yourself, but you kind of could. You could change the faces a little bit, and then you got to choose which maneuvers you wanted to do. So it's like, I want up and kick to be a roundhouse kick, or maybe it's like a savate kick or something like that. So my friend and I had a lot of fun playing this game when it came out, because it was one of the first games you could kind of edit to, like, well, I don't want to do that kick, I want to do this other kick instead. That looks more brutal, looks more painful. So, had a lot of fun with that one. When I first bought a Super Nintendo, or not when I first bought it, the first 2 games I ever bought was Legend of the Mystical Ninja, and then this one. And I bought this one blind, which means to say I've never rented it, didn't even hear of it, didn't even look at the back of the box. I looked at the back of the box, of course, but I knew nothing about it, never heard of it, never played it, never rented it. I looked at the back of the box, I was like, oh, that looks like Final Fight, cool. And I bought it, and I was pleasantly surprised. Now, of course, it wasn't the same graphical quality as a Final Fight, but the gameplay was all in there, and it was 2 players simultaneous, which Final Fight was not, at least the first one for the Super Nintendo. And my next door neighbor and I played this a lot, and I love the fact that I usually play as the wrestler in any of these fighting games, and the fact that the wrestler did a power bomb, you know, I was like, this game is already my favorite. Love it already. Wanders from Ys. I am a huge Ys series fan. This one goes in a different direction where it's more side-scrolling. It plays more like a Zelda 2: The Adventure of Link. However, still love it. Love the music. Love everything about it. The storyline is like, okay, whatever. But it's all part of the Ys universe, and I'm a huge fan. My high school friend and I used to get in fights over the fact that it's pronounced Ys, but he kept calling it Wise. And I was like, it's not Wise, it's Ys. It's like, well, it's a Y apostrophe S. It's Wise. It's like, dude. And it shouldn't matter. It totally matters, though. Another one, this was our party game for every weekend, WWE Royal Rumble, or WWF Royal Rumble back in the day. There is a Raw game as well, and the Raw one probably is a better game because there's more moves, but we played this one a lot. I remember my favorite was always Tatanka, and I would switch it up. I would be, like, I liked The Undertaker, of course, but I also liked Razor Ramon at the time, but I'd play as anyone, really. Like, I just play as whomever, but usually, or Crush. Crush was in there too. But yeah, Undertaker or Razor Ramon were usually my picks if I could get away with it. Got Final Fantasy II. I love the Final Fantasy series up until about... Final Fantasy VII was the last Final Fantasy game I beat. I played a little bit of 8. I haven't played the other ones. I played a little bit here and there, but never enough to actually beat the game. And I should probably change that maybe later on. I'm kind of looking forward to Final Fantasy 15. And if you're thinking, oh, Final Fantasy 15, that looks nothing like the other Final Fantasy games... And I agree, because Final Fantasy VII, to me, looks nothing like the previous Final Fantasy games, including Final Fantasy II. Final Fantasy III, maybe a better game, but I have more sentimental value with Final Fantasy II. Came out as Final Fantasy IV in Japan. Throw that in there. You probably know that, but I'll remind you. Love the music. I actually have the piano sheet music for that game. Pretty cool. We're getting down to, I got about 3 games left here. UN Squadron, great shooter. What's going on there? I should probably clean these cards sometime, huh? Awesome shooter. I've only beaten it once. It was one of those games that after I beat it, I felt accomplished because it's such a cool game. You can play. You choose the character you want to be. You choose your power-ups. You maybe have to play through the level first a little bit to find out what power-ups you should use on what bosses and all that. The first visual image when you're playing near the lake or the water level, and then when the submarine bursts out of the water and crashes and all that, I was like, oh, awesome game. Super cool game, too. Another great one, of course, Super Metroid. I always see NCAA basketball. I'm like, oh, Super Metroid. No, it's NCAA basketball. No, this one is, however, Super Metroid. And I'm a huge fan of the Metroid series, and you can't go wrong there. My friend bought that first. He got it for Christmas, and I remember we had to, all of us knew he was getting it for Christmas, so we all had to wait until he opened his Christmas presents before we could go to my friend's house and play Super Metroid, because I didn't get that one that year. And the last one on the list, and certainly not least, it happens to be last, it's one of the only games I actually have CIB, which is cool. This is Lagoon. Again, I'm a huge, huge fan of the Legend of Zelda series, and I don't know if I want to say this one came out before Zelda Adventure, the Zelda game for the Super Nintendo. The Link to the Past. I want to say this came out first. I'm not exactly sure, though. But this one plays a lot like a Zelda game, but you can also save it anywhere. So I remember it was funny for me, like, I would... right before I died, I would save it. So that way, every time I loaded the game, I would die immediately. But I would load it with just enough time to jump out of the way or something, and eventually I would maneuver just fine. So I would live to tell another tale. So Lagoon is it plays just like Legend of Zelda, and can't say enough good things about it. So there you go, 25 great games for me, 25 memories for me. Part of my collection. I have more games too, and I could have pulled out 25 more easily. Because the Super Nintendo is that great of a system. Still love it today. I'm still actively buying games for it today whenever I'm at conventions and stuff like that too. Because there's still games I don't have, and still games I wouldn't mind. I mean, I understand I can do repros and I can make whatever game I want to play, really. But it's just cool to still have, someone else's memory. I'm not really doing it for the collection value. I mean, there's going to be a little bit of that too. But I'm doing it more for the, this was the game that somebody rented. This was the physical artifact that somebody got for Christmas. Never mind the fact that they sold it or traded it off or something like that. But this is something like that. So always happy to have these, and happy to hear from you as well. Maybe what are some of your better games for the Super Nintendo? I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Thank you so much for watching this. I know it kind of went off for a little bit, but 25 games is a lot to go through. So thanks for watching. Give it a thumbs up if you would. Love me some Super Nintendo, and more reviews on the way. And with the sound of the phone, that means I got to answer it. So until next time, have fun. Thanks for the subscription. Give it a thumbs up. You're awesome. Nobody can tell you otherwise. Take care. We'll see you.